We want to learn from this video how to find the solution of quadratic equations by factorization. Alright, so let's look at this example. In this example, we want to solve the following quadratic equations. We have on part A x squared plus 3x plus 2 equal to 0, and on part B we have x squared minus x minus 20 is equal to 0. So let's go on to our solution. Remember, we want to use the method of factorization. Remember, we talked about this. We talked about how to solve quadratic how to factorize quadratic expressions in our algebraic expressions topic. So that is the same thing that we want to do here. Since we have quadratic expressions making a quadratic equation, so we're just going to be factorizing just as we were doing. Alright, so on part A we have x squared plus 3x plus 2, and to factorize the quadratic expression on the left hand side, then what I'm gonna do is, I know that I'm gonna come out with two brackets, the first terms within each bracket will be made up of the factors of x squared, which are x and x. And what I do next is I look for factors of the last term. In this case, the last term is 2, whose sum equals to the coefficient of x. In this case, the coefficient of x is 3. Alright, so the factors of 2 whose sum will give us 3. You see, you do that by trial and error, looking for factors of 2. In this case, we can take, like for 2, we can have plus 2 and plus 1, right? These are factors, or minus 2 and minus 1. But the pair of factors that will give us a sum of 3 is positive 2 and positive 1. So these are the ones that are gonna fill up our brackets. So we'll be having plus 1 and plus 2 within the brackets, whichever. So we now have our algebraic expression on the left hand side factorized. So that is how we factorize these quadratic expressions. Alright, next we now have a product of x plus 1 and x plus 2 giving us 0. Now remember, if you have a product of a and b giving you 0, what that simply means is that it's either a is the one that's equal to 0 or b is equal to 0, because for us to get a 0 from a product, it means either of the numbers multiplying each other, either of them is equal to 0. So from our brackets, it's either x plus 1 is equal to 0 or x plus 2 is equal to 0, since the product here is giving us 0. And solving these two simple linear equations, here shifting 1 to the right hand side and here shifting 2 to the right hand side, then we'll be having x being equal to negative 1 or x being equal to negative 2, and that's our solution. X is equal to negative 1 or negative 2. So that's our solution to part A. Alright, let's go on to part B. Maybe you'd want to attempt part B by yourself, so I'll just give you just a few minutes to do that, so you can pause the video from this moment. Alright, let's look at part B. We have x squared minus x minus 20 is equal to 0. So remember, we make our two brackets of factors and we look at our first term and we write down the factors of the first term to make the first terms within each bracket. So we'll be having x and x. And next we said we look at the last term. In this case, our last term is negative 20. So we'll be looking for factors of negative 20 whose sum will give us the coefficient of x. In our case, the coefficient of x is -1. That is the coefficient of x. It's -1. So we want to look for factors of -20, whose sum will give us -1. Remember, I said we do that by trial and error. So factors of -20, we've got many factors of -20. We can say we have like 10 and -2, or -2 and 10. These are factors. This is +10. Or we can have -4 and +5. These are also factors of 20, or +4 and -5. So all these here are pairs of factors of 20. Okay, but the one which will give us a sum of -1 is this pair of factors. So that is the one. These are the factors that are going to fill up our brackets. So we'll be having -5 and 4 within the bracket. And we are done factorizing the left hand side. And since we now have the product of x -5 and x plus 4 giving us 0, then what that means is that either x minus 5 is the one that's equal to 0, or x plus 4 is equal to 0. And if we are to solve this equation, then here we'll be shifting 5 to the right hand side, and here 4 to the other side. So that we'll be having x being equal to 5, or x being equal to -4, and that becomes our values of x. X is equal to 5 or -4. So that's simply how we factorize these quadratic equations to solve these quadratic expressions to solve the equation. I'm going to be giving you more examples and another method in the next video of solving these quadratic equations by factorization.